The Catholic Church has a rule according to which priests and nuns must remain unmarried and abstain from sexual relationships. However, many of them face difficulties in adhering to this rule. Some are forced into celibacy, but most sexual relationships they engage in are voluntary, involving priests and members of the church community. Monks consider themselves as spouses of Jesus Christ, rather than as individuals, dedicating themselves to God. However, many nuns struggle to fulfill their vows and maintain their faith. Despite the requirement of chastity and celibacy, the Catholic Church has been involved in scandals related to inappropriate behavior of nuns. In the 19th century, in the female monastery of Sans-Amplodgio, Mamon's cases in Rome, gruesome rituals of sexual practices were conducted, sometimes involving multiple participants. Even after the removal of the monastery's founder, Maria Agnes Ferrari, other nuns took her place, but they continued to engage in these perverted sexual practices within the monastery. By the 1850s, Mrs. Maria Luisa organized scandalous relationships with the nuns under her command. She went so far as to write letters on behalf of the Holy Virgin Mary and threatened anyone who doubted her methods. This illegal activity remained concealed for many years in the Vatican archives until the scholar Hubert Wolff exposed it in his investigation. However, the nuns of this monastery made considerable efforts to keep their dirty, intimate acts secret. In the 1850s, the monastery founder was stripped of her status and authority for leading other nuns to worship her as a fictional idol. After her removal, Mrs. Maria Luisa took her place, and she was not much different from her predecessor. Organized intimate encounters with the people under her care, one obedient nun named Maria Luisa confessed and asked me to lie in a certain position with raised legs while she pressed herself against me. She then started making indescribable sounds and gave me instructions to position myself in order to receive her biological fluids. Maria Luisa claimed that these fluids possessed healing properties and could cure diseases within the framework of the initiation ritual. Maria Luisa also requested that the obedient nun press her breasts against hers. However, Maria Luisa's escapades did not stop there. She was also involved with one of the monastery's spiritual advisors, who turned out to be a Jesuit. To avoid suspicion, they attributed their nightly encounters to religious reasons, thus camouflaging their intimate relationship. Maria Luisa even deceived her confessor by handing him counterfeit letters from the Virgin Mary. To forge these letters, Maria Luisa sought the assistance of Maria Francesca, another obedient nun. Her confessor, who eventually succumbed to her charm, ended up engaging in a sexual relationship with Maria Luisa. In the 10th century, the founder of the monastery, Maria Agnes Ferrari, was embroiled in scandals, despite serving as the spiritual mentor to Pope Leo V. Her transgressions eventually became public knowledge, tarnishing her reputation. Not only did she enter into a love affair with her confessor, but she also participated in group sex involving her confessor and another nun. Remarkably, the monastery miraculously avoided closure by the Inquisition. In 1816, when she was stripped of her title as the abbess, the illicit activities in the monastery continued. Behind closed doors, there is another astonishing discovery associated with one of the confessors who held the secret of the monastery's actions. Joseph Cloicon, who lived under a fictional name, was actually a trusted advisor to the Pope and an outstanding theologian. In 1848, Joseph began a romantic relationship with one of the nuns during the subsequent Inquisition. Joseph tried to justify their relationship, insisting it was purely spiritual and not driven by desire. He claimed that his focus was on religious matters, despite admitting that he received a relatively lenient punishment from the Inquisition, which ordered him to be confined to a Jesuit house for 2 years and deprived him of the opportunity to participate in the trial. Maria Luz, being a well-known figure, introduced new nuns to unconventional practices, including rituals of sexual initiation. She claimed that her biological fluids contained divine blessings, which could be shared during moments of sexual contact. During the trial, Maria Luz admitted to using similar methods in her relationships with other nuns. A witness asked Maria Luz where these illicit activities took place, but unfortunately, not all the monks dared to question or speak out against them. During the trial, Maria Luz faced accusations of participating in lesbian relationships, worshipping a false saint, and even murder. However, one crime stood out among the rest. Witnesses claimed that Maria Luz took part in what was known as the Jesuit bleeding, an erotic ceremony involving many intimate acts. One witness described how the confessor would make the sign of the cross on the penitent's neck with his tongue, causing some recipients of this blessing to fall into ecstasy while kneeling before the spiritual advisor. These revelations shed light on the troubling secrets hidden within the monastery walls. In 1816, the Inquisition brought Maria Luz to trial, accusing her of false sanctity and inappropriate behavior with confessors. She spent the rest of her life in exile and confinement. It is worth noting that the secrets of the monastery remained hidden for over a century, even after the trial of Maria Luz. The full truth about the monastery only became known much later.